the first experience I had when I actually moved to the States was I went to Utah to visit my grandma. My grandparents live in
Utah?
Yeah.
From Samoa to Utah?
And that was a culture shock, even though as quiet as it was, you know, and as it is, Utah is, and it's a lot more sheltered. It was still humongous to me. And I mean, religion itself over there was really overwhelming. And the first thing that I encountered was somebody came up to me and said, "Oh, where are you from?" And I said, "Oh, I'm from Samoa." And they're like, "Oh," so it was actually a male. And he was like, "Oh, so are you part of the SOS or the Bloods or the Crips or something?" That was their first question.
And that's disconnected in so many different ways.
And I was looking at myself, I'm like, man, I forgot my do-rag, you know?
Right.
my piece. And,
but for someone from Utah to say that, the disconnect.
Yeah.
The disconnect.
And so that was kind of my first experience in the U.S. I go, oh my gosh, the ignorance here is just crazy to me.
Right.
And luckily, I went beyond Utah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And your parents.
Yes. So when I actually moved away and I went to the U.S., I came to California and I even went east, and I was like, oh my gosh, the beauty of the United States is the fact that from one end to the other, it's completely different people almost, you know what I mean? I'm like, you're within different countries in the same country. And that was hard to kind of, you know, talk about assimilation. Where do you actually assimilate? You know what I mean? Because from one end to the other, like I said, it's just, they're completely different cultures.
Right. Like if they gave you a manual, it would be way easier.
Yeah.
But the figuring part of the assimilation is the tenuous process.
Mm-hmm.
Like these Mexican guys or Latin guys from Pasadena are different from the Latin guys from Granada Hills. Right, Central American. So, you know, I mean, in that particular case, were you feeling like, I want to go back home?
There wasn't a moment in time in the first year that I just didn't want to go home. Definitely. Where I was like crying myself to sleep, like this is way too big. What did I get myself into? And missing home and just the comfort of it, you know, and more of that sense of ownership.